Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
So I was like,
All right. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right there? We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. So if anyone who wants to take a seat, feel free. There's a couple up front here, and then there's also the bleachers to the side. You're welcome to sit there. Anyone who's looking for a seat. All right, let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Green Apple Books on the Park. My name is Casey. I'm a bookseller here. Thank you all for coming out tonight in person, and thank you to those of you on Zoom as well for coming virtually. We know not everyone can be here in person, but yeah, before we get started with tonight's event, I just wanted to let you know about a couple other upcoming events that we have planned. Tomorrow night in this room, same time, same place, Katie Crouch will join us to discuss her new novel, Embassy Wife, with Rachel Levin. And this will be another in-person event, but you can also attend online via Zoom if you can't make it in person. On Thursday, we're thrilled to be doing a special ticketed online event with Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, aka Cassandra Peterson, who will be discussing her new memoir, Yours Cruelly, Elvira, with Peaches Christ. And this event will take place on Crowdcast, and it is, like I said, it's ticketed. There's a link on our website to buy tickets. We have another poetry event scheduled for this Saturday at noon on Zoom. It's with Rachel Long for her collection, My Darling from the Lions, and she will be joined by Elaine Castillo. So we are in the thick of a really exciting event season, so make sure to keep an eye on our calendar. All of our events are posted online, both online and in person. And also, in the era of internet events, we have a lot of our events posted to our YouTube channel, which is greenapplebooks.com, or no, just Green Apple Books on YouTube. So with that said, we are thrilled to be celebrating the release of Paolo Bichhieri's new poetry collection, Familial Animals, tonight. We have copies of the book for sale, and Paula will be signing them after the reading, so make sure to snag your copy. If you're watching on Zoom, you can order online and request a signed copy in the comments. And it's the best way to support our event series and, of course, our author tonight. So thank you to those of you who can and do buy the book. So before we hear from Paolo, we have a whole panel of amazing poets that will be reading for us tonight. And we're going to kick it off with our very own Carr Johnson. Carr Johnson is a writer, performer, and bookseller in San Francisco. Their writing has appeared in the Northridge Review, Fog Lifter, Lit Hub, and the anthology Love is the Drug and Other Dark Poems. Carr has performed their work for Red Light Lit, The Racket, Radar, and many others. They received their MFA from San Francisco State University and serve as the event coordinators for Green Apple Books. Everyone welcome Carr.
Thanks, y'all. You know how I got this gig. Pull back. Keen in on the sound. In Itty City, if you choose, you can hear the birds. Just will your ears and decide to miss the bus. The season is swelling. The petals have yet to wither. We are inextricable from this time, and the boy is trying to see his reflection in the shop window, what it might look like as a threat. Pull back. We are a queenless hive, waxing, waning. It's April outside, and I'm surrounded by right angles, doing the wrong thing. In the middle of watercolor season, a spot of ink. The grass hisses long at the wind's touch. Every tree is a celebrity. Bees are always thinking of their unborn sisters when they set themselves to work. Pull back. a string instrument as mime. The bees are moving, not knowing about the boy and what he sees in the mirror, how he thinks about being seen. They move for a generation, we'll meet in the summer, and they'll never know. Come close. The flowers don't come from nowhere, but a diligent creature compelled to blooms from birth, our hands humbled by a soil too fertile to even know where to begin. So it feels weird to like read, if you read and or write poetry, no one probably thinks about this unless you are the poet or the reader of poetry, but it feels weird to read about a different month when it's not that month. Like we can't read, this is an April poem, that's wrong. So because I don't have a poem for this very particular time of like, it's fall, but it's really hot. I was like, okay, let's do a spring poem and then we can do a winter poem and they do a week in the middle. So this is a winter poem. 'Tis the season to be visited by our ghosts past, to walk into a birthday and a death, a season where the cold divides us, splits us in two, lounging arms in a fireplace coat with wine blush and here I'm thinking of the horses, running from the burning stable after the siege, stampeding into the lake of an old war, violent snap of ice around them, suspending them in the frozen water all winter, a troop of homesick soldiers, their only caretakers, beer left next to their heads like a joke, like a tribute, waiting until the spring thaw. 'Tis the season. Where our days have accumulated, we try and reconcile the fleet of November through to the plodding burst of January. Look at the mornings we collected, look at the midnights we've stuck in drawers, placed a number on, the science of a square. A decade is a unit of haves and have-nots. 'Tis the season. I try to remember you without your comma, to open the door for your spirit. In the spring, we leave a glass of wine on our pilgrimage table, untouched and waiting. But now I open a beer for you and a beer for me, chain smoke, and I talk to the sea, where I call you brother, where I call you boy, where I call you golden. Count the years you've been gone and the series of haircuts I've been, the would-be birthdays that have stitched you as a cusp of man. When it was 5 years, I knew at one point it would be 10, and I'll be doing the math for the rest of my life, carry this garland of dead with me, and its clasp I've turned you into. 'Tis the season. Evolution has chosen to protect us. With holidays, demarcations on a road spinning forward. Each time we orbit, we come back around to the markers we left for ourselves, a crumb trail of our time here. Holidays were invented to condense matter, so we wouldn't have to move through the elements alone. To connect is primal, so we discovered fire. To connect is primal, so we invented the calendar. Each room one has cried in when the day told them not to be alone, they have overwhelmed their evolution, and the next year they can pray to not have to work so hard. 'Tis the season. You saw me with your empathy years ago and pulled me to your lap. Your sight was always by energy. The night after you died, I woke to the arms of your sweatshirt cradling me, and now I'm older than you'll ever be, walking back from the sunken horizon, left an altar of solitude at the edge of the shore. I leave my boots the door, lift us both over the threshold and into the people dinner and clinking glasses and gratitude, knowing that the process of freezing is a form of heat itself. I welcome your season. And for a night, I quiet the question of the horses left as sculptures on that solid lake and what their hair sounded like in the frigid wind. One more. And before I I wanted to say thank you to Paolo for having me, and thank you to all of these wonderful readers for also joining me. This is awesome. And I have my mask off for you people and people at home. Now I'm turning into business mode. Okay, here's Poet Car. This is Business Car. So Business Car says that readers are allowed to do so just for like sound and quality, but do please keep your mask on to protect us all and minimize risk, because we want to keep doing this thing. So thank you for respecting that. One last poem, then I'll get out of here. But now I'm back. Okay. The sky keeps happening. That last weekend I didn't know would be the last weekend. We fought off the bird appetite, which was plentiful. Used a new blanket, you're landlocked. The ocean is an event. I love taking you there. It let me back to our nighttime dalliance, when we had to wet our feet before you got on the airplane, enough to save until next time. I always cry when we part, always cue up the same song when I pick you up next. The boys are indeed back in town. This last time the beach looked like glass, so you know what it sounded like. It's not the last weekend. You don't believe me, but I get it. Sundown is an emotional state, I understand. I miss the taste of running to it too. Miss the church we made in the bottom of that burnt out sequoia, ash on our thumbs, anointing one another, that forest where I was sure, more sure than ever, that prayers were answered, and so I whispered one and then several under my breath that this would be always. The iris broke free from the rock. It's not the last weekend, because the sky keeps happening. I'm not the first to tell you it changes every day, and I pray for your sake I'm not the last. Reliable yet unpredictable. Places us in a cradle. This is a poetic moment. Poetry is vigilance, and everything that leaves you should be documented. We're accumulating more with a recorder to our mouth, parched for the last time we felt wind, not air, but wind. I want for naught, but to give you the gift of each day. So take today's window, its purview. So long a letter to promise that I'll pick you up. So long a letter to tell you that we are going to touch. So long a letter to tell you that I'm holding you now.
Thanks, Cara. I'll wipe this down for the next people here. All right. And by the way, if you've come in late, there are some seats up front. Don't be shy. Our next reader is Preeti Vangani. She's an Indian poet, educator, and writer, the author of Mother Tongue Apologize, winner of the RL India Poetry Prize. Her work has been published in the Three Penny Review, Gulf Coast, Portland Review, and other places. A graduate of University of San Francisco's MFA program, Preeti has received fellowships from UCross, Tin House, Napa Valley Writers Conference, and the California Center for Cultural Innovation. She currently teaches in the MFA program at USF and fails almost every morning to wake up at 5 a.m. to continue working on her short story collection and one-woman play. Everyone welcome Preeti.
Hi, y'all are so kind. Talk about not ever, like, are poets ever living the day they're in? No, right? I'm trying really hard to make sure that summer is still around. But Paolo, thank you so much for gathering us together. After so many years, well, it's 1.5, but it feels like a lot. Paolo's book, which everybody should get a copy of, is called Familial Animals. So I thought of starting with this poem from my book. When women are at their animalistic best, that's basically when they're 13 years old. Keep me burning. I practiced crossing my legs the way my father daggered his eyes at mother if I ever wore shorts. Twin openings exposing more than what they could hold inside. It took me 3 sex ed classes and a crushed pamphlet to know that I must fold and hold my body like a score of eggs on a crowded subway. My period premiered the night we went to watch Godzilla, which wasn't as scary as the sports teacher asking bleeding girls to sit separately in a lotus pose, a quick whip if the line of our panties showed through the pinafore. We played telephone with our hands instead of running in the sun. In moral science class, the only girl with waxed legs passed a chit under the smooth wooden desk. It read, "When he touches, I feel hot and cold at the same time." I lay naked on our marble floor with a fever under his ripped full-bodied poster. I touched myself the way my sister braids and wiggles her toes over the phone under the sheets coral pink, her words like submerged seeds on strawberries. Who knew those were achenes, the berries' ovaries? I asked Mom what was the big deal about sexing, and she asked me if I'd eaten all my fruit at lunch. would Madonna have done? I vibrated all around my pimpled ears with a Walkman or a home karaoke mic between my thighs, knowing there was a sound inside that would leak on any given Sunday in church choir as he'd hit his solo bits of "Give me oil in my lamp." If only there was a way to touch the difference between fill and feel. If only I knew how I could make origami of my shame and let it fly, fly, fly. All right. Girls age, but their problems kind of don't. I'm going to do a triptych from this book, and all of it happens in the space of an office. The first one is called Fair Trade. I should make myself a museum of all the cum I have helped release. The width between my spread up thighs is the distance I travel to buy an idea of being loved. Some bodies offer, some bodies receive. Debit what comes in, credit what goes out is the second basic rule of accountancy. The negotiation between giving sex, receiving sex, and enjoying sex, the profile picture of the pursuit of love. A mouth rolled over the full length of a dick, lips blanketing teeth, thoughts inside head sliding up and down your orgasm. Mighty boyfriend is the glue that will bring us together. I count moles on your chest while you're trying to reach your end or wherever it is that the mind goes after a small death. 7 years since my mother's death. My pussy is dry, my mouth is dry, dripping wet in my appetite for security in labels. Even watching a film is cumbersome with you. Slip on an intellectual condom over the sit back and enjoy part of my brain. I thought my cunt was big and fertile enough a hole to grow stability and commitment from. The stickier it gets, the more you feel thirsty. I see your ass getting whipped by your boss in an open plan office. You behind your laptop forecasting peak seasons for glucose powder slip into my chat window. Ask, how do I feel about making us sex only? You know what? I heard when I was really young, sex sells. So after this, if my book doesn't sell, I don't know what I'm going to do. Dog language experts. Bottom line, you only want to fuck. His mouths a yes, but chai is allowed, he says. We drink tea, we fuck, we lunch, we fuck at lunch. He mails me concept cards in 5 languages to sell a special nutrition beverage to women with lower blank than others. Assess if the puffery-laden copy means the same in intent and action. A word or two could be substituted with tighter emotions. What means strong in Hindi means thick in Marathi. What is resolved in English ended in Gujarati. I feed back in shorthand, he fucks me. Today, we're pretending I am the smart one. He posts sex size. You are talented, baby, but you need an anchor. I want to give him some life-changing advice too. It's called use your blank on my clit instead. But I need an anchor, friends, not him, not him. He wants to be an anchor to someone with a husky voice. He's so sure deep voice is a sign of intellect. Like the 80s actress who only did art films. Are you sure you won't get attached to me? He checks so he can rinse out his conscience and his dick after flipping me over as doggy baby, doggy please is how we get this job done. This poem is titled after actual advice that I was given at my first workplace. Don't dip your pen in the office ink pot. The movie with the 80s actress is the appetizer served at the beginning of parties that try too hard to be classy. The question of the lead sexuality is left open too. No definite end, like life, like death, like casual sex. Like my colleague says, he will never let his future daughter have casual sex as he spoons me after casual sex, though I know this daughter will. We both do. We smoke weed, we drink tea. We gasp at how Chuck Palahniuk's head must be so fucked. We fuck. We only fuck. We disappears. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Brain throbs at the speed of sadness. I hear the veins of a leaf getting crushed underfoot and arch. The most ticklish gap in my body, sex. I've come to you for answers again. All that, oh God, oh God, oh Godding must count for something. So how many men in your books of accounts, Miss Vangani, a male boss quizzes me at my welcome party? Truth divided by the square root of modesty plus standard deviation cool is equal to. It took me years to understand why interest paid is recorded as an asset and interest received a liability. I'll do one last poem. I wrote the book for my mother, who we lost in 2008. She was only 44. And I think I will never not write for her. This poem is called Raising Mothers. Raising Mothers. This morning she came undone into my arthritic fingers in the form of an easy tear perforation on the milk carton. That was a very small kind of mother. Smaller than the mother I encountered in myself waiving late fees working at the library when the nursing student in finals week eating Oreos for dinner came begging. No fret. I said my register lacked luster compared to the mother I found in the purposeful banter the buck-toothed guy in 12th B on Heathrow to Bombay engaged me in to distract me from pain, cramps coiling under my knees, each nerve sharp as teeth grinding down a prayer for the prednisone to usher in the pill also a mother, dissolving my aches. Invisible as the grace, I trace in the blanks between my friend's fingers, chopping walnuts, cooking me ahi ragaina, seasoning the chicken with mother-like accuracy. The sense of her knowing I have long been motherless, itself a mother to me. A gold Virgin Mary on her pointer, how it birthed rainbows in the sun-drenched women's clinic as we waited for her to get an IUD. An option our mothers would perhaps unapprove of, and this option too, a kind of mother. And the ghost of my own mother, my father conjures, pointing to the corner table in Kailash Parbat, a restaurant, by a cowshed where they first met, sipping filter coffee amid bovine groans, chaperones at arm's length. And it is hard to not be amused when my father, now motherless and wifeless, having brought doctors and priests to both women in vain, still finds it in him to be a mother to himself. Wide grinned, he whistles, combing his balding head before bed. Ask him why, and he'll say, what if Julia Roberts comes in my dreams tonight? What is to mother, if not to suspend moon-like faith in the face of a stubborn night, like the milky plainness with which my stepmother confided in me while shelling peas? Your papa, he hit me. Her admission not because it is a transference of trust, but a repeating of history, making her suddenly more my mother than I allow her to be. Her, a linear erasure of my one mother, now my mother's skin, the two sharing a skin memory. Look, how she pendulums her feet at the sewing machine, altering a paisley dress for me, and says, try it now. And I try, mummy, I try to have you return to me in flesh and in breath to keep you alive. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Preeti. All right, our next reader is Lucie Pereira. She is a San Francisco-based writer and educator. Her poems have appeared in Sidereal Magazine, Honey Literary, and at the Hellbore, among others. She supports young writers as a programs coordinator at 826 Valencia and a teacher at Children's After School Arts. Welcome, Lucie.
Betty, thank you so much for having me. I don't have a book to sell you. I'm just a person who likes poetry. So you are saving money by not buying my non-existent book. You should buy everyone else's books because they're incredible. I'm so honored to be able to read with all of you. All right. Goodbye to all that. A quarter century stares me down through the narrow months, and I wonder if I have the fire for it. Joan says by 28, she was too old for New York City. Last year, Tim used to laugh and say we were too young to be tired. So we danced in the late hours amid the camp of it all, and we drenched ourselves in glitter, which is really just a million microplastics that will gleam long after we're gone. In the park, I think about all the insects that are living their first and last days. They don't seem to be frantic about it. Damselflies skitter across the water, perch languidly in the sun, not far from birth, not far from death. Regret is a luxury for those of us with too much time on our hands. Luckily, this coast has an extra moment for my mistakes. I kissed your shoulder once, twice, A third time just because I can, and to remind myself I'm not in any rush. I get a lot of shit for my zodiac sign. So this one is self-portrait as a Gemini. It's something you can't make heads or tails of. I scorn nicknames, but adorn myself in the misspellings. On my fake ID, I was Lucie with a Y, and that bitch was a mess, but at least she managed to tuck me into bed each night. Okay, so that's not true. More often than not, she'd curl up on the floor after crying into the toilet bowl, but always without fail, she'd shimmer her way home. Plastic Arizona license in the back pocket of her skinny jeans. That's beside the point. The point is, now I spell my name backwards so I can read it in the mirror. Now I sketch myself in antonyms and pile on contradictions to keep warm. That's the shine of it, that texture you can't pin down. It's the clinking glasses at the dinner party and the talking shit in the backseat on the way home. It's the traffic light glimmer on the car windows, the mystery in the multitudes, the darkened sand exposed in the ebb that still remembers the liquid freedom of the flow. A diaspora poem. Taste of sticky mango sunlight, a syrupy heat I try and fail to conjure as I soak in these watery winter rays, crisp and translucent as crescents of pear, a gift from the gnarled tree in the backyard. A diaspora poem speaks of mangroves and monsoons, but I was born into a different kind of jungle, one with suburbs and country clubs and way more blonde women than genetically probable. I should be singing saffron and chasing chai, yet here I am shivering in my California kitchen. And what's a diaspora poem without aunties, without warm curries and grandmother's hands, the hems of saris swishing while spices simmer? My grandmother sends me a package filled with shortbread cookies and masala spiced pecans, tells me to text her when it arrives. My aunties are oceans away and I keep missing their funerals. A diaspora poem carries the memory of the journey, the miles crossed, the hopes that linger on the horizon. All I remember is this stolen land I claim as home, a land that wishes I'd returned somewhere I never began. I try to write a diaspora poem, but all I know is that my hair curls differently when it's humid, that my skin tinges golden in a certain kind of sun. I don't know what diaspora looks like, but I know it runs blue through my veins. When you cut me open, it'll change color, exposed to foreign air, salt and iron on the tongue. This next one I wrote at like 2 a.m. after my second vaccine dose. So thank you, Moderna, for this. And it'll be out with Mason Jar Press next month. If I was Godzilla in San Francisco, I would stroll down Market Street without stepping on the cracks, and I'd squash Salesforce Tower under my heel. That stupid fucking dildo of a building, that alarmingly irregular spike on the city's electrocardiogram. Just grind it into the pavement and let the dust linger. I'd scoop all the traffic from the Bay Bridge with my pinky, like a Q-tip in the groove of an ear. Then I'd pet all the cable cars until they purred, and I'd tilt Coit Tower just for fun, so the tourists could take posed photos like they do in Pisa. I would bend all the bars at Alcatraz and let the ghosts roam free. After that, I'd take a bath in Stowe Lake, and I'd let the ducks nest on my kneecaps because that would be cute as shit. When I got hungry, I would snack on a bison or two and brush with a eucalyptus to freshen the breath. At sunset, I would let the frigid tide at Ocean Beach wash over my scaly toes. And in the face of the endless waves, I would finally know what it's like to feel small. I would laugh when I made the snowy plovers scatter, and I would cry because I made the snowy plovers scatter. I have just one more for you. This one is for my partner, who is so good at so many things, and unbelievably bad at guessing people's celebrity lookalikes. So this one is called Lookalikes. I'm baking blue cupcakes as the world exhales, washing them down with mimosas like a basic bitch. My boyfriend tells me my mole reminds him of Marilyn Monroe, and I wonder if I should bleach my hair. But I think to be blonde would remind me that beauty is pain, or maybe pain is beauty, or maybe it depends whose beauty and whose pain. No matter what, there are still Sundays. I let my indoor cat explore the backyard, and he's thoroughly unimpressed. paws at the gravel like I was born to walk on hardwood floors, you bastards. My boyfriend says when I smile, I look like Whitney Houston. I wonder if I should start singing in the shower. Can't remember the last time my voice made an echo. It's so cold and I layer myself between sheets while the car lights blur on the slick road. In this light, my boyfriend tells me I kind of look like Kendall Jenner. I wish that I were a few inches taller. I think that I should probably delete Instagram. Ice plants carpet the cliffs, sand and ocean spread below us, and I'm breathing heavy. My boyfriend says that I look like AOC, and for once I reply, I get that a lot. I go online and buy a pantsuit patterned with stars. Thank you all so much.
And for anyone who came in a little late, there is some room up here. There's a couple seats in the front. There's some room on the bleachers back here. Don't be shy if you want to come up and take a seat. Now's a good time. I'm going to introduce our next reader. Our next reader is Kevin Dublin. Kevin is an education advocate, editor, and writer of poetry, prose, scripts, and code. Currently director of the Elder Writing Project, a community-based outreach program of the Litquake Foundation, and an instructor at the Oakland-based co-op Kickstart Coding. Kevin is passionate about access to education for all and has worked with emerging writers and programmers from ages 5 to 105. His words have recently appeared in the forthcoming his words have recently appeared or are forthcoming in the San Franciscan, Cincinnati Review, and North Carolina Literary Review. He is the author of the chapbook, How to Fall in Love in San Diego, and he believes in you. Kevin, welcome.
Realize I probably I realize that I maybe should have read something or picked something from my book, but I'm like, ooh, poems in progress. Let's see how this goes. Thank you, Paula, for the occasion and having me here. And the book is amazing. Like if you have not read it, which likely you've not yet, because it's now unleashed. You should get it and you should read it because it's beautiful and it's beautiful and it's painful and it's so many things. Makes you feel good in your heart. This poem is tentatively titled "The Two Kevins in the Mirror," and it's after a Major Jackson poem. The two Kevins in the mirror begin to undress my body until I'm naked. One is practical, unbuttons from top to bottom a collared shirt. One slides it off shoulders like a burlesque tease for the self, a way to feel satinesque. One leans with the next goal in mind, readying for bed. One isn't really unzipping, but is thinking about how two children are enough. One drops pants to fold them. Sometimes he smooths and creases, knows to take care of everything he owns, loves with his soul, leaves a pile on the floor to be picked up with the sunrise, recognizes that above all the darkness of night, a falling star is a fragment burning in the atmosphere in the arc of one thing transforming into another. Like everything one day does, even how we love. One enters the bed completely bottomless. Both always sleep with a top, but I'm not the kind of person who believes there can never be a revolution. One day, we might doze nude. Today, one Kevin wants to lead a revolt and write it, help sow seeds of thoughts in a nation and watch it grow. One Kevin doesn't believe in a past, only its traumas and the hope to heal them. One wants to unmake his past. One isn't egotistical enough to try to change a system. He's no farmer, just an army worm, eating, working to moth. One loves a white woman with his whole heart, but has a heart full of complications, like the history that his wife's great uncle was lynched. One knows ownership is simply imagined, temporary at best, the way a bread-shaped cloud can become a bowl, and then it can become a minotaur, and a crowd of heads at a reading before dispersing into nothing at all. If you ask one, he'd say he's planning an MBA startup lineup of children. One would say he dreams of being a river, able to stay in one place with his family and leave without ever leaving. One speaks up and performs poems and drinks up the attention. One believes he is seen. One believes he is seen, but he also believes he is seen. How he is seen is not who he is completely. The same way the great blue heron's wings splashing the water is not the great blue heron. They both lie down on their back, but one simply cannot tell the difference between what he wants and what he needs. One falls asleep, barefoot in the grass, pencil in hand heated by sun, writing poems with fingers he knows will one day be like leaves, crumple, then slowly disintegrate and scatter in the wind. And another, this is a duplex and yet to have a name, so it's called Duplex. Don't let me end up a mural on Bill Street. Sound of a cheap lighter heating a joint. Hiss like deep inhale from a fresh joint. Large worries can be made small with a mouth. Large worries made small in Sunday's mouth. Auntie's lips while they sing, victory is mine. I jelly white while walking after night shift. Victory today is mine. I jelly white before walking into night shift. No past, only residue of joy, traumas. Covered in residue of joy, trauma, like a smile fades when pulled over by police. I grasp my son's hand and smile at the police. Lord, don't let me end up a mural on Bill Street. And this is there's a lot of birds that will show up in my poems. I once had got feedback on something and we're like, oh, it was about like a mountain bluebird's wings or something, and we're like, this is like that Portlandia sketch, and put a bird on it. And I was like, oh well, I guess maybe I should just put more birds in poems all the time because I love birds. And so this has really nothing to do with it except there's many birds in it. Translate the birds. And this was written in exchange with that was part of this program, West Oakland, West Africa, and was writing with Ifeanyi Chukwu, who is this fantastic poet in Nigeria. So this is actually in response to one of his poems and for him. Translate the birds. Thursday's tire tracks grooved in the sand as night disintegrates into dawn. Morning, short and stretched hammock, hungry for more hours. The day is starving. I come out of silence, pushed only by tangerine calls of California scrub jay. Pioneer town, America's promise like ice tossed between two Joshua trees, their root systems thirst and wait. The white-crowned sparrow glides between these trees twice, settles on the ground between them as I write. The air warms with ancestors, a plump chuckwalla basks in their light on a rock as I write. My ancestors and yours on the skin, I think them like wild poppies bloom as I write. I know a cousin is covering me now, as sure as I am my mother was in the moonlight as I write. A man I have never met toasts my sideburns, and I turn my cheek towards trunk of the tree as I write. I remember a laugh with a woman from Ghana, like loose branches in the wind as I write. Phantom as she pricks me, my arm, an olive branch to a virus. As I write, a woman your close kin who loves you deeply glimmers in the heat haze. As I write, someone brings first sweat to my scalp and cools me down. Balmy surrender like the chuckwalla. As I write, my father, a black-throated sparrow's talons wrapped around the leaves of a yucca plant to perch, to sing upwards as I write, clear as the air I breathe. The curved wings of Vox's swift flock all upturn as I write, forever and ever. Amen. Just one more. I do this thing in terms of generating poems or lines of poems that actually develops in part from like an exercise I would do with friends, in part actually an exercise done or sort of a mix of with Alexander Weinstein at Martha's Vineyard and Super Creative Writing, where I met Paolo. And coincidentally, I didn't think about it until after I'd already picked it because I just love this shirt, where I bought this shirt with this guy in a store. But yeah, I'll just take literally 6 minutes and I'll just write lines and I just have these random words that I've pre-selected, like, thousands of them, and I'll just take random ones and like write whatever word in, right? So, and I'll give myself a question and a random image. And I can't remember what the image was, but the question was, what community are you a part of? A man half asleep on the sidewalk of 4th Street in Keene in San Francisco grips his uncircumcised penis, screams, I dream of dead cops, while lavender blooms on a vine in Palo Alto. White as the Arctic snow falls, fresh as melt into ocean from ice cap pitter patter, and that's the pattern the man kicks his feet in as he says it. Like he was a flame flickering against extinguishing at the end of a short wick, open and hollering at gods he wishes would stop reaching to close his casket lid. He was born in a state where there were laws that prevented his great-grandmother from legally learning to read and grandmother from ever checking out books, a town where dogwood, woodruff, and dead nettles seasoned the early summer air. Now, a size 6 mauve wedge at a tan ankle steps around him, walks through the open library door past whispers, I'm not a body, I have a body. I'm not a body, I have a body. I'm not a body, I have a body. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Thank you to all of the poets tonight, Car, Preeti, Lucie, Kevin. Thank you again. That was amazing. We have one more reader tonight. The reason we are here, last but not least, Paolo Bichhieri. Paolo is a writer living on the coast. His articles have appeared with Eater, KQED, and SF Weekly. His poems have appeared with Ghost City Press, Bay Area Generations, and Nomadic Press. And Familial Animals is his debut book of poetry. And as I said earlier, we have copies for sale tonight. Don't forget to snag one and get it signed after the reading. And one more thing. He thinks teachers deserve money in Copstill.
That's true. That's how I feel. It feels so good to be here, y'all. Thank you for coming out. Give it up for Green Apple Books. I've been selling my books for 3 years, and that includes the books that are not actually very good. So it's a vote of confidence from them that I appreciate all this time. And for all these readers, one more time, for all the readers, totally fucking incredible. Each of them inspire me and mean a lot to me. So I want to thank all of y'all for coming out during a pandemic. We're not really post, we're like amidst one, and it's really cool that you're here. So thank you for that. And also just big thanks to my family. That's why I have any of these poems and what the book's about and everything. And I wore this shirt because my mom got us vacation shirts in 2018 for me and my brothers. So this was mine. My brother had a hot sauce one. My little brother had a wiener dog one. So it's like animals and it's familial. So the branding is really strong there, guys. So, and with that, I'm going to start with a poem from my dad. It's not in the book, called "I Voted for Pedro." His name's Pedro. Spoiler. Because I know he missed his mother before she lost her mind. I know he missed her while it was gone, and once she too was gone. I know he swims in the Red Sea, his body full of salt, as he tells the other men how whales sing songs for their families like he once did. It's January in Saudi Arabia, powder blue sea floor, its own little melancholy. Bodies float better in tepid salination. On a birthday night under fruit fly moon, 3 men punch blockchain gold years shimmering like dugongs. It's some blue curacao, sold in Seattle corner stores. The hue you said is chemical because genie blue ain't natural, but crystalline gazes through hooch wine blindness. So in evanescence, eat Szechuan at a pastoral Shangri-La, and your mind always calls out. Knocks from the inside, even below time-drunk moon, its own little melancholy. There are cannibals in the Republic, and I'm asking for a breath of nuance. For us kids, he sang Sublime, Frank Sinatra, and Santana, but that one was just guitar. Samba, listened to each morning in New Orleans getting high above the river. I know he means well when he buys us dim sum, and we feast in evanescence, dunking diaries like dumplings. And I know he gave us everything he could, playing Sea Monster at the public pool on the Monday nights he wasn't so tired he'd doze in the depths. Because when Napoleon Dynamite exploded into theaters, we loved it. And when Napoleon thrusted Maximilian into Mexico, we hated it. So I voted for Pedro, sure. Even though he didn't come from Puebla, even though Cortez fucked his way into our family coffers, into the streets of cities he built erroneously, violently. So I voted for Pedro, because despite the force, in addition to the thrown punch, I find communion in his swimmer's glee, tracing magnanimity between the enormity. Thanks, y'all. Thanks, y'all. I don't know how to say magnanimity. I've been fucking with that all day. It's been keeping me up at night. This next one is for my mom. They're all about my family, believe it or not. It's the name of the book. This one's called An Opportunity. Thank you. The last time I waked and baked, or is it woke and boke? It was the last time I did wake and bake, and I was wandering around the lowland desert of Washington State, a place most people do not know has a desert, in the fry oil smell of a music festival. A man approached me with an elder wand of a blunt and told me, "Opportunity be knocking." I did not know this was a lyric from an Action Bronson hit single, and I would not know this for 2 or 3 years. So for the following 2 or 3 years, I lived my life with an impatience, an insistence, an impossibility. I would frame it through the crystal of opportunity knocking. And I lived like a bull's gripped horns dipped in the ball lightning that killed my abuela's uncle. And I managed my life like a fox ripping heads off chickens, rolling around the streets like a nighttime friar, finding speakeasies and trash cans. But I don't live like that anymore. I play bananagrams. I take it easy when older men tell me to take it easy. I quit buying and selling the little bags with skulls and crossbones on them. And a sidebar for the men who sold me those bags. Wasn't that a little on the nose? The images of the dead? We were already on the nose, weren't we? I don't drink all night anymore. Actually, I do. I still do that. A 90-pound woman brought minibar Svedkas this big to my house, and we danced through them, and through Golden State ciders, and flashed through the lift, and crashed through Mai Tais at Lipo, and we blazed through the dance halls on Polk, and we sundowned in the sunset and smashed the cans in each other's faces in the streetlight, like it was more than just drinking. Like I was more than a denim jacket wearing busybody mask and that Portland-ass white tooth-covered veneer son of a bitch, but I'll never be a son of a bitch because I was raised by Trina Marie Lanigan. And that's a name you remember because on her heart is tattooed the words, "It's a God thing." And on the other side of the coronary, it's written, "That's my fucking son." And she stitched those messages on anyone who looked at me funny. And when I looked at her funny, she stitched them onto me. So when I see opportunity knocking, I just call my mom. And I don't go to music festivals anymore because I'm told Coachella sucks anyways. And I might drink all night after a day of taking it easy, but in the morning, I just call my fucking mom. Tina, watching right now. Let's hear your mom speak. Okay, the next one is called A Dead Coyote, and it's about my no-no, my dad's dad. Lays in gold frost shimmer outside the sliding glass door. This is not an elegant transition. So I wonder at the way life evaporates from a muzzle laying dead cold and like the briefness of a handshake. This is not an elegant transition, but I remember my no-no like bloat fur with a spindle of beard lolling from his cancerous nose to his crucifix chest. This is not an elegant transition, the way we are brought from powdering birth to fluorescent stillness, frigid and sterile truncations of paradise. So in the pre-dawn dew, when I see coyotes in Golden Gate Park rolling the skunk off in the grass, I feel a warmth in the cold, like hot blood slipping beneath matted hair invites the air to return to the puncture. So the next one. All right, I'm going to follow the animal theme, if you've detected the theme. This one's called I Watched the Elephant Seals Get Born. And I was down watching the elephant seals get born. Believe it or not, it's really not that poetic. I was actually doing that at the time. It was in January, and I watched 2019 blink into past. Lubricated blue crescents writhing around the sand, Castle Down 101 holding court high above and afield tennis, untouchable and opulent lifestyle. I wondered at the way my love teetered from heel to toe at seeing the calves mule, at watching them hunger. I wondered at the way my love for my love teethes along her arms, between her tattoos, between the places I knock and wait. In the bombing slams of their fathers' bull bellies, I wondered about the food eaten in the long halls of Hearst Castle down the road. The tide rises each year and I watch the sand, dollars, grate against the fortress door, futures in oil and in children trading below a pint of beer, Brent bent low like fentanyl, the opioid that crushes the hillside, the valley, the North Seattles, all but the shimmering Castle Peak, Mirage. I watched the elephant seals get born and I wondered if any of this mattered. And I wish I meant the writing or the watching and not the writhing, the sand. I have to nod to make sure it's over. You know what I mean? Because otherwise you're like, I don't fucking know. Thanks, y'all. Seriously, it's been a great night. I actually have two more, so I'm going to save that thing I was about to say. But it has been a great night. So the next one is called Yakima Canyon. And it's a big shout out to all the super racist people who live where I'm from. Shout out people watching back home. It's on you guys. You got to do something about that. Come on. All right. The cattle in the canyon stank of death. Let me try again. Very, very sorry. The cattle I drove through the canyon stank. A snake spit in my face. Coiled cordless foam beeped ahead of the cliff face, and Proud Boys cast flies in the river like they were Jesus. Like letting the waters course around gumboots was holier than walking on. Let me try again. Very, very sorry. Let me drown it out. Very sorry. Very, very sorry. Let me drown. Let me drown it. Let me try again. Very, very sorry. Canyon slick in ash, a notion of blackness, numbing it, the water, numbing it, a viper bite, a vibration. Very, very sorry. Let me try again. I drove the cattle and there were water walkers waiting. Let me go. Let me drown it. Try again. Very sorry. All right, now it's the last one. So I'm going to say again, thank you to everybody for coming out. It's really cool to be here. It's really special. Buy people's books. Get excited about poetry. It's fucking awesome that you're here. Thank you so much. The last one is called The Name of the Movie, and it's an ensemble piece for hella people in my family that I love, that I hope are enjoying this right now. The name of the movie. Yo, Uncle Carlo wants to have a fire. Call the dogs and the neighbors' dogs and put on Bill Withers. Call my dad. He loves this shit. The bullshitting, the laughing, the celebration. But throw out that old bourbon. I don't want it near us anymore. I don't want to talk about the buried sadnesses, but let's drink yesterday's treasures. And I don't want to tell stories about romance, but let's sing of lovely days. And I don't know where the night will lead, but let's map make our way through the misty night. Here's one. No sailed with George Bernard Shaw. This is a dude who cradled his thumb over a hornet on the sunroom table to crunch stinging life into memory. And I think about that whenever I need to do some hardcore shit. Another one. Pop sailed with the generational gout clumped on his knee. Not to call out a buried sadness, just to say the guy kept his eyes to the stars, and in the constellations he battered gas giants into cakes, and he prayed to orca whales with their celestial bodies. And that's a story for whenever I need to remember how to go, not where. And another for you, Primo. You sailed with the salt-shocked hair of a Spanish forefather before your father ever did, and when he joined you on those watery Pacific bastions, he retched and knelt, and you sailed him to shore. And I think of that whenever I go to older men for guidance, because even fathers throw up their hands in deep water. But you all pour me another, and let me tell you, my girlfriend is a thinking star. I keep my eyes on her as I charter the dark, and all of you sometimes I can't tell if she's Whitney Houston or Kendall Jenner. Boom! Didn't see that coming, did you? And my family, let me tell you, I pray for the determination to be a harbor for her as she is a lighthouse for me, with lips like grapefruit sugar scrub. Not to call out a romance, but on top of all that went before, at the summit there is love. And all of you, there is a place for us above the marauding of cacophony and deluge. The fire's on. Pops, get out here, man. I'm a little drunk on this wine, man, but I gotta ask you, what's the name of the movie where everything worked out in the end? Thanks, y'all. I really appreciate y'all coming out.
All right, Paolo, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Thanks for those who joined online on Zoom. There will be a signing now, so feel free to hang out, get a copy of the book, and get it signed. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.